very disappointed in the of the head of state of this country, because actually Cyril Ramaphosa is the one who seconded the nomination of President Rolihlahla. You know, he trusted him that he would make a difference and a change in this country. But of what is going on right now, as the youth, we are really disappointed. You know, this is not what 70,000 children died for in the Soweto youth uprising. They died for better. They did not die for us to receive the bare minimum and call it quality basic education. They did not die for us to be here. And this, you know, the problems that we're talking about right now is the problems that we face day to day. But why should you spend so much money in calling a national dialogue while you can take that money and invest it into changing the problems that are faced by this country? That is why I'm saying this is another pep talk. We do not need a dialogue to change the problems that are happening in South Africa. We need an active leadership in South Africa to change the problems that are happening in this country.
Arrogance of power. Why Cyril Ramaphosa's dialogue ignores South Africans? Only an arrogant government spends hundreds of millions on a dialogue that the people, political parties, and analysts have already rejected. Welcome back. I'm Kondos, and this is Inkari It's Time. In my last video, we exposed the national dialogue as nothing more than just an expensive talk shop. Today, let's talk about the arrogance of the ANC and President Cyril Ramaphosa, who pushed ahead despite warnings, withdrawals, and outright rejection from ordinary South Africans. Withdrawals and warnings. The legacy foundations, DA, MKP, EFF, and many civil society voices all walked out or refused to participate.
Just mentioning those legacy foundations, Bali, I just want to bring your attention, you and your viewers, to this. They've released a statement saying that there will be a briefing on Wednesday, and of course they will then, those 8 foundations will tell the nation what they think about this. But of course they've also released in another statement, Bali, saying that they are not involved in this UNISA gathering, and they actually implore and reiterate that all those who are actually involved in this 2-day national convention must make sure that it is credible and it is citizen-led.
You're among the foundations that withdrew from the preparatory task team, citing a number of issues. Nevertheless, the convention has begun in earnest. Just your take on what we're seeing now. Is this what was envisaged when we first heard from former President Thabo Mbeki about a dialogue to forge a new path as citizens?
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting us. Firstly, I think the whole notion of a national dialogue was conceptualized by foundations, and therefore, I mean, what is happening today is far from what we had envisaged in terms of staging the first national convention, because for our point of view, we had thought that there will be a preparatory sort of a session where people will be going into the first convention prepared. Different sectors would have discussed. We've got a number of papers that have been developed in order for sectors to have sort of been able to have discussed before they go into the first national convention. And therefore, from our point of view, we think the first this gathering was rushed. It's not prepared as we had envisaged it to be prepared, and therefore we don't think it will yield the results that we had envisaged going forward. But most importantly, this one specifically is not citizen-led. It's led by government. You can see that it's government that's basically running this first national convention. Mm-hmm. It is not run by civil society groupings as envisaged before. In hosting the national dialogue, it's important that government plays a supportive role, but not a leading role as it is happening now. It is true that Section 83 does empower him to do that. However, as the national dialogue needs to be citizen-led and not be led by government. In the principles that we agreed with government was that this is going to be citizen-led and that government will play much more a supporting role rather than a leading role. In this instance, government is leading this process, is not playing a supportive role. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look, we conceptualize the national dialogue, and by definition, if it's a national dialogue, every South African has a right to participate, to define the South Africa they want. All we are saying is that government can play a leading role, because part of the problem that we have in this point in time is that government and political parties we are in a crisis because of both of those two sort of stakeholders, and therefore from our point of view they can't be the ones who are leading this process. All they need to do is to become part of this process as any other sectors. It is true that no South African should be left out of this process, and therefore South Africans in general must define the South Africa they want.
Political analysts called it meaningless. Ordinary South Africans said it was a waste of time and money.
You know, I don't want to beat about the bush. Personally, I don't think this dialogue is necessary. It's not. Precisely because what it wants to achieve, about 50,000 interviews across the country. Wait, in the most rural areas of Mpumalanga, Limpopo, Northern Cape, the uneducated, the illiterate, the average Joe in the street knows his or her problems. They want security. They want jobs. They want safety. They don't want potholes. Now, do you need to sit under a marula tree to get an answer to that? I just want to go straight to what the issues are and what the people think. Lo and behold, this roundabouts across the country is likely to be boycotted by the people. People are much smarter now than they were in 1994.
And our politicians, our leaders are uneducated. They don't have political will, don't have interest of the people. So as much as these are in the NDP and the Medium Development Plan, but the people we have at the helm of decision making don't have interest of doing those things. So things are going to come from this dialogue. Probably they'll say, we don't want this current leadership. What then happens after that? And two, who do we put into leadership? Because now the current political climate is just populist. If you have the loudest voice, you get elected into power.
It's a pity, ma'am. We are mesmerized at times by their concepts that sounds novel to those that are not fairly well read. There's nothing new that we are saying that was not said 30 years ago. We keep repeating the things. I attended 3 sessions this afternoon. I listened to the people speak, especially the young ones. They are representative from the communities, from the provinces. They say what the government knows and what I also know. And you want to spend about 500 or 700 million rand to go and listen to the things that you know and the people have told you. And here today, we can close the proceedings here. What was said and begin implementation. But as she says, lack of political will. They are obsessed with self-preservation. They are obsessed, the compradors, those that fought for the liberation, with self-preservation and not the other. I wonder where Chris Hani is. I wonder where Mandela is. Wherever they are looking down on us, what we have done. We have done far worse than the homeland system. We have done far worse than the apartheid system. And this, we must look each other in the eye and be honest with each other. Things are worse off. We keep talking and talking and talking, but things are not improving. We have the National Development Plan. Whatever outcome of these proceedings, 80% of it is already contained. What I heard today is what is known in the villages. Go to Nkuankua, Umlazi, Nyanga, Orlanga, Mahikeng. People know what their problems are and the solutions they want. One, they don't want cadre deployment. They want people to be appointed on merit. The elephant in the room. People are saying, manage the borders. There are too many foreigners in the country. South Africa thinks is the best and the only people who understand human rights under the sun. There is no country that doesn't manage migration. There is legislation. If The law is made for man. Man is not made for the law. Once the laws of your land no longer serve your people, even if that paper is called the Constitution, change it so that it can serve the people.
Definitely. From the president's address, he was making jokes about people not participating here. Making mockery, asking rhetorical questions on why don't we have healthcare. Those were patronizing questions to citizens because they're at the helm of power and yet to make fun of our problems, right? So there's no political will. Even the posture from their movement in this place, the self of importance, they are so important for this dialogue themselves. So it's not necessary that they're going to change anything. I don't see that even if we have the outcome from dialogue, this current leadership, I don't have faith in that they will change any of the circumstances that we find ourselves in South Africa right now. And just need implementation. South Africa, and this thing that we don't have money for things. We have money for national dialogue today to ship people from wherever they come from to come and have dialogue of sort, right? So we need to appropriate funds correctly. We need to fund the public service entities. State apparatus are not working. State enterprises are not working. People are jobless. Youth are educated now, but they don't have jobs. Crime is rampant. People are taking law into their own hands. People don't have faith in government. So it's a matter of change in personalities themselves. Personalities as the leaders, and secondly, ensuring that services are done.
Arrogance of the ANC. Despite this, the ANC and Ramaphosa went ahead, spending nearly 700 millions on a project to discover problems everyone already knows. Problems they have been reminded of every election, every protest, and even in parliament debates. Disconnect from reality. This is arrogant in action. A government so drunk on power that it ignores the very citizens it claims to serve. A president so insulated that he chooses optics over reality.
You guys are the leaders of today and of tomorrow. Are you happy with what you've seen so far?
Absolutely not. I am not happy with what I saw. The whole point of having a national dialogue, or a dialogue per se, is so that people can speak their mind, and then the people that they're speaking to would be here and present to listen to what the citizens of South Africa want. The president left way earlier than expected, and some of the ministers left even before the president left. So that shows us this is just another pep talk, just to soothe out the anger that is in the citizens of South Africa.
The saddest reality. But here's the saddest part. Many South Africans themselves enable the ANC to keep abusing and exploiting the poor by defending failure, excusing corruption, or voting blindly. They help prolong the sufferings of the very communities crying out for change. But why are many South Africans, leaders and eminent persons, as they called, are here participating and yet knowing that this will lead to zero? Why are they participating and enabling the ANC to continue with this arrogance?
It tells us the government is failing us. This is one thing that I need to let it known to South Africans. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela is gone. May his perfect soul rest in peace, but he is gone. Chris Hani is gone. Steve Biko is gone. Tsietsi Mashinini and Khotso Siatlole, they are all gone. Now it is time for us as the youth to stand up, because the people that they stood up for are failing them currently.
The arrogance of the ANC is the real story here. And the tragedy is that some of our own people still allow this abuse to continue. When leaders refuse to listen, and when citizens allow them to get away with it, South Africa loses.
You are saying what needs to be done. Are they listening? Yes, if they don't listen, it's well and good. The people will do to them what they did in 2004. No doubt about it. They will make them listen, right? They will find a way to make them listen. That's one. Number two, there are 4 or 5 points for the past 20 years I've been talking about. Change the electoral act so that the people of South Africa can elect their leaders. Ours is not a democracy, it's a quasi-democracy. In the 30 years, have you ever had a day where you stand in the queue to elect your president? That's one. Number two, deal with the problem of migration. Number three, do away with cadre deployment. 4, BBE, affirmative action. Affirmative action was never intended, and this as much was said by Motlanthe, to be more than 10 years. It was an intervening measure. And if we can, let's remove this concept called transformation. The original meaning and the intention was good, but it has been so much corrupted that everything is done in the name of transformation, and the more we transform, the worse things become.
What citizens see, South Africans see the truth. This isn't about solutions, it's about image management, a desperate attempt to appear engaged while avoiding accountability for decades of failure. If you believe South Africans deserve leaders who listen, not rulers who dictate, then share this video, drop your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to Inkari It's Time, because arrogance in power must be exposed, and together we can hold them accountable. Thank you for watching and take care.